Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Raya and Mordechai. And it is a great honor to be able to learn with you today, Thursday morning at 9:30, as we do every morning, Pirkei Avot, the ethics of our fathers, according to the teachings of Chassidut. I'm very humbled to share with you, and I want to wish a big mazel tov to all of you, that today we are completing, Bezrat Hashem, the 400th video of Torah learning, Torah classes on our YouTube channel of Chabad of Rechavia. And I think that's a great way to enter into the Chag of Shavuot, the giving of the Torah, which will be in just a few days. Today is the second day of Sivan, and it's called Yom Segula because this is the day that Hashem chose us as being Am Yisroel and being a holy nation. I would like to learn with you Perek Aleph, Mishna Yud Bet. Chapter 1, Mishna 12, you should have it in your text, in your Mishna or the Sidur that has the Pirkei Avot. And Mishna Bet reads as follows. Hillel v'Shamai kiblu mehem. Hillel and Shammai received from them. Who are they? Shemaya and Avtalion. Hillel Omer, Hillel says, Havei mi talmidav shel Aaron. One should be from the students of Aaron. Ohev Shalom, should love peace. Verodef Shalom, and one should pursue peace. Ohevet Habriot, you should love the creations. Umekarvan la Torah, and bring them closer to the Torah. So, on the most basic level, we're talking over here about not just liking peace, but pursuing peace. Aaron HaKohen was unlike most people, that if someone came and had an issue, then he would try to help them work it out. But if Aaron HaKohen sensed that there was an issue between friends or between spouses, he would pursue peace. He would go out there and he would make it a point to go to each party and tell them, the other individual that you're fighting with, he really, really wants to make up with you. And the same thing vice versa. That's called to pursue peace. So the obvious question is over here, it doesn't seem to be true. If Aaron HaKohen would go to, let's say, Reuven, let's say there were two individuals, Reuven and Shimon. And he went to Reuven and said, Reuven, Shimon, your friend Shimon, he really would love to make up with you. How could Aaron decide that for Reuven? Who says that it's true? And the same thing vice versa. He could come to Shimon and say, Reuven, he's really embarrassed to come to you, but I'm going to make a setting where you can both come together and make up. Or as they say in Hebrew, a sulcha. So how could Aaron say something which may seemingly be not true? And so the explanation is that according to the Kabbalah, Aaron HaKohen is called the Matrunita, the queen of the Neshamot, of all of Am Yisrael. And Aaron is connected to us in a very close and intimate way. And so when Aaron HaKohen says to Reuven that Shimon really wants to make up with him, then he's saying the truth. Now, it's possible that Shimon knows about this truth, and Shimon really wants to make up. And it's also possible that Shimon is not aware of this fact that he wants to make up. But the fact that every neshama, every person, every Jew really wants to make up with their friends, that is enough of an indication for Aaron to go to one party and tell them that the other party really, really wants to make up. So it's not a lie. It ends up being quite true. Then comes the last two statements of the Mishnah. Ohevet Habriot, u'mekarvan la Torah. What does it mean, Ohevet Habriot? You should love the creatures or the creations. Why doesn't it say, Ohevet Anashim, you should love the people, or Ohevet Yehudim, love the Jews? If someone is a smart person, so we tell others, we can refer to them as a wise person. If someone is a rich person, then you can refer to them as being a rich person. If someone has nice physical features, then you can refer to them as being a beautiful person. And so on with many different talents and gifts that Hashem has given us. But then there are some people who don't seem to have any specialty, any special gift. What is the only gift that they have? The gift that they are a creation of Hashem. Yes, there are some people like that. So Aaron Cohen taught us how to love every single Jew, regardless of what special quality they might have. Even if the only quality that they have is that they are a creation of Hashem, Ohevet Habriot, nevertheless, we have to make an effort to love them with all our heart. And then it says, Umekarvan la Torah, and bring them closer to the Torah. So, first of all, Umekarvan la Torah indicates you should bring them closer to the Torah. It doesn't say you should bring the Torah closer to them. You should bring them closer to the Torah. Why is that? Because the Torah is what unites all of us together. Observance of the Torah strengthens and emphasizes and emboldens the neshama of a Jew. When we learn more Torah, our neshama shines more. So there are some organizations that are not orthodox and do not go according to the Torah. And their approach is to change the Torah, bend the Torah, in order, quote unquote, to bring people closer to the Torah. So they'll give all kinds of loopholes that have absolutely no basis in Judaism, officially in order to bring people closer to the Torah. But at the end of the day, it doesn't usually bring people closer to the Torah. And it's also straight out wrong. What is the Torah approach? Umekarvan la Torah. We need to bring them closer to the Torah. Not, God forbid, to dilute the Torah and bring the Torah closer to the person, where the person might be on a lower level. Rather, to bring them closer to the Torah. A short story in connection to this concept, and it also is associated with what we learned yesterday in Mishna Yud Aleph about Chachamim, Hizaharu b'divrechem. The Torah scholars and the wise people should be careful with your words. There was a person that was not observant, and it came to the Rabbi, and they had a private audience about different subjects. In the course of the conversation, the Rabbi tried to encourage the person to strengthen themselves in Torah and mitzvot. And the Rebbe said that you should start with, I believe, either 3 or 4 major mitzvahs. One of them is Shabbat, another one is Kashrut, another one is family purity, and the Tefillin. And the person indicated that it was difficult for them to jump into the entire Torah and mitzvot in one shot. On the other hand, we know that it's hard. It's hard for a person to jump right into it. On the other hand, every single Jew has a mitzvah to do every single mitzvah in the Torah. So why is it, or how is it, that we can convey the message to an individual that they should try their best. And so the Rebbe's message was as follows. This is only in my own words, but this is the point of what the Rebbe wanted to say. You're not going to hear from me the words, quote, you don't need to do all the mitzvahs. Just do a few. Because there's no such thing. Rather, a person should say, you can start with this, or put a focus on this, which indicates both concepts. Number one, that you still need to do everything else. Number two, to put a focus on certain points. So U'makarvan Torah means that when you bring someone closer to the Torah, that adds in the Ahavat Yisrael. Because Hashem and the Torah and Am Yisrael, the Neshama of a Jew, are all one. So the more we focus on the Torah, it's not just a separate thing. You should love every Jew, and also bring them closer to the Torah. No, it's bringing them closer to the Torah that really inspires the Ahavat Yisrael on a much larger scale. Now, in the beginning of the Mishnah, it says, Havei mitalmidav shel Aaron. You should be from the students of Aaron. Why was it so important for Hillel to say this point? He should have just jumped right into the point that he's trying to say. Ohev shalom. You should love peace. V'rodef shalom. And you should pursue peace. Ohev et habriyot u'makarban laTorah. Love the creations of Hashem and bring them closer to the Torah. Why did he have to preface by saying you should be from the students and the followers of Aaron HaKohen? And the explanation that the Rebbe explains is that Aaron was a Kohen Gadol. He was a high priest. Being that he was a high priest, he needed to be super careful, more than the norm, of not being involved and getting in contact with impurity. Both spiritual impurity and also emotional impurity. And so it was a greater danger for Aaron to put himself at risk and to enter into different homes which may have a negative effect on him or on others. So that's what Hillel is trying to teach us. Even Aaron HaKohen was able to do this. How much more so everyone else is expected to do this. Even Aaron HaKohen, who it would have been perfectly understandable if he would have refrained from acting like this and going out of his way to set on such a great level in order to bring shalom, in order to bring peace. Nevertheless, he himself was not concerned about it. He was careful. He was extra careful, and we need to be extra careful in certain environments. But at the same time, he did not brush off the responsibility. And that is a very important message, that nobody can say, oh, this concept of Ohev Shalom v'rodef Shalom is not for me. Because even Aaron HaKohen was able to put his own ulterior motives, spiritual ones, aside in order to be able to bring Am Yisrael together. Now let's explain for a moment the idea of how through Torah that's really bringing Jews together. You see, the Alter Rebbe says in the Tanya, in the one of the most important chapters in the Tanya, Perek Lamed Bet. By the way, you can see our shir series of shares. I believe it was 5 or 6 Yurim last year that we gave for in the Tanya, chapter 32. So over there, the Alter Rebbe says, what is the foundation? What is the concept of the mitzvah of Ahavat Yisrael? That since we are all similar and we all have one Father, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so we're all brothers. What does that mean? So the ahava, the love of every Jew with one another, lemigadol v'ad katan, from the greatest to the smallest. This needs to be a most essential level of Ahavat Yisrael that we have, just like brothers. Don't have to agree on everything. Very often, brothers, as they call it, brotherly love. But that's not allowed to take away from the fact that all the brothers are siblings and children. They're all siblings, and they are children of the same parents, which means that they have the same DNA, pretty much. And therefore, they should be unified. They should be together. It doesn't mean that they agree on everything. It means that they should feel as one. So the famous question in the Medrash is, we have two important things in the world. We have Torah and Am Yisrael. Which one's more important? Is the Torah more important or is a Jew more important? So if you look at the surface, it seems like this morning we read the Torah in Shul. You take out the Torah, everyone rises and embraces the Torah, kisses the Torah, and we all have tremendous admiration and respect for the Torah. You look at a Jew, you look at their body, and it's very possible that it looks almost identical to the body of a Gentile. So there doesn't seem to be anything special about a Jew. That's only if you look at it from the surface. But if you look at it with a magnifying glass and a laser beam, and you look deep down into the neshama of a Jew, and you look deep down into the Torah, the source of the Torah, you will find out that a Jew, the source of a neshama, is even higher than the Torah. Which means that each one has an advantage. On a more revealed level, the Torah is greater. On a more essential level, a Jew is greater. So what do I gain by having the Torah obviously more holy? The answer is that since the Torah is, in a revealed sense, is more holy than a Jew, therefore it has the ability to elevate the Jew and to connect him and to connect all the Jews together. In other words, that the Torah, which is more obviously holy, helps us reveal what is the true depth of the neshama of a Jew, because the Torah is holy, so it has a tremendous amount of information and explanation to help us reveal that which is concealed by the Jew. So it's not just that Torah is a holy item. It's that Torah has a special role that it enables us to come together, to bring Am Yisrael together. The same thing is by Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, being the general neshama of all of Am Yisrael, brings all of the Am Yisrael together. Moshe is clearly, obviously more holy than anyone else, than any other Jew. But because he is holy, he is able to bring everyone together. He represents the essence of everyone. So once we've succeeded, here's the punchline. Once we succeeded to reveal the source and the beauty of the neshama of a Jew, then we need to nurture it. We can't just leave it right there. We need to nurture it. We need to make it more and more revealed. The more Torah we learn, the more mitzvahs we do, we reveal that essence, that etzem haneshama, or as we say in Yiddish, the pintel yid, to be able to connect all of us together. Now, when we say that we want to love every single Jew on their own level, so we have a couple of very interesting points. So we talk about Matan Torah. In a few days, we're going to be receiving the Torah for the 3,333rd time. And so, if even one Jew was missing at the giving of the Torah, then the Shekhinah, the divine presence, would not have revealed itself to us. The divine presence would not have revealed itself to us. And we also know that any fast that's not part of the sin, that there are no sinners of Am Yisrael that are part of it, is not an acceptable fast. So it's not just every single individual that's important, but it's also the fact that every single individual is part of the klal, the general congregation of Am Yisrael. Being that we are all one unit, we're all siblings, we're all part of the big happy family, that is a special emphasis on bringing us all together. Having said that, every single person has something special that no one else has. The proof is that we're here, because we have something to contribute every minute, every day, to the general rule. So, like the Alter Rebbe says, that there is an advantage of the foot over the head. What do you mean? The head is the head. The head is so important. True, correct. But there is something in the foot. There is an advantage. Every single thing has a pro and a con. So there is an advantage over the foot, for the foot over the head. What is that advantage? That without the feet, the head cannot get to wherever it needs to go. So it carries, it brings, it guides the head to where it needs to go. And finally, the Alter Rebbe says, when he tries to explain the essence of Ahavat Yisrael, so he doesn't stop by saying that we are all like brothers. But he adds, and he says, that the nefesh, the soul, the ruach, and the spirit, who knows the greatness and the source of the living God? Klomar, that means to say, that we have to love every single Jew. Also, advantage, not only from the fact that we're part of a rule. Part of a rule is a good thing. It's a positive thing. But that's not enough. We also have to love every Jew because of the specialty that each and every one has. And I just want to finish off this shir by saying that the introduction of the Mishna talks about Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen lit the menorah. The menorah has 7 branches of the Beit HaMikdash, 6 on each side. There were diagonal branches, and 1 in the middle. The 1 in the middle was not called the Shamish. That was part of the 7. And we are taught in Kabbalah that there are 7 general types of neshamot. And Aaron HaKohen, every day, he would light the menorah. That was part of his service, to ignite and to light the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. So in other words, Aaron was there in order to help us be uplifted, laha'alot, to lift ourselves and to shine in our own lives and in the surrounding around us. So therefore, hopefully this idea of Ahavat Yisrael is not only something which we can keep for ourselves, but also something which we can share with others, and we can make it a domino effect, that just like we're trying to bring Ahavat Yisrael as much as possible and in the most sincere way, also our surroundings, people around us, will also try their best to put an emphasis on Ahavat Yisrael the way it's supposed to be. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow right here at 9:30 for Kabbalah Cafe, for Shabbat Bamidbar. Today, hopefully, we'll be sending out this week's video, which is in honor of this Shabbat Bamidbar and also Shavuot. And Sunday morning, we're going to have a special edition of the Kabbalah Cafe, Bezrat Hashem, in preparation for the great Chag of Shavuot right here, 9:30 a.m. Thank you very much for joining us. All the best, and we look forward to seeing you on Shabbat as well.